Greiner Talks, about sustainability and transformation. A Greiner podcast episode.
This is Greiner Talks, and in this podcast, we are discussing nothing less than the future. We want to learn from others, get new perspectives, and understand how we can become a sustainable business. My topic today, diversity, and my guest is a very successful manager from Germany. She was managing partner at Ernst & Young. She was on the management board of a big insurance company. She is the chairwoman of an association called Charta der Vielfalt. In English, that's Charta of Diversity. And most recently, she is also an author. Welcome, Ana-Cristina Grohnert.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here to have such a wonderful topic in our conversation.
Thank you. And I hope I got that introduction right.
Yeah, almost. I think you left out 15 years before I joined EY. So my career didn't start at EY being managing partner, but I had like 15 years in different companies in finance and risk management up front. And then the last 15 years was 10 years at Ernst & Young and then at Allianz in the insurance company. So I'm a finance and risk manager with love for transformation and people business.
Ana-Cristina, you must be pretty busy. So first of all, thanks for taking your time. And am I right that you're sitting in your home office? It looks pretty cozy over there.
Yeah, of course. We are sitting in our home office. We would love to travel again. We had the conversation. I would have loved to be in Vienna instead of Hamburg. But we can do everything in a virtual way.
It's a pity that physical meetings are not possible at the moment, but I'm sure it will be possible soon again. At least I'm hopeful. However, I don't want to spend more time discussing about Corona because I think we have all heard enough about it. Anna, just recently you have published your first book. I have mentioned it briefly in the beginning, and I'm translating to English here. It's called Hidden Capital, Reinventing Value Creation. And in a nutshell, my apologies here for like a very dense summary, but it is about putting people back at the heart of the economy.
Yeah.
What motivated you to write this book? And can you tell us a few sentences about it?
Yeah, it's not there yet in English. It's a free translation. It's Das verborgene Kapital, the hidden capital. Yeah, put the people back to the center of economy. So it's all about going from short-term minded shareholder value to a long-term value creation in business and having the people in the center of the mind and, of course, the climate and society. So it's going from the individual potential over the systems of companies, how they work together, how they unleash potential within their organization, and then, of course, being part of this society, because I'm just convinced that a company has to take the responsibility for the planet, the society, and the people they work with, and people in matters of employees and clients at the same time. So it's just being interconnected in this so much interconnected world.
Speaking of people, that's the topic of our conversation as well today. We want to talk about diversity, and everybody seems to be talking about diversity these days. But what is diversity and why is it so important for our society?
Oh, this is a complex question as well, because some people make it very, very easy and say diversity is gender equality. But you wouldn't talk to me if we wouldn't have a little bit more complex conversation on that. Because for me, it's diversity is bringing all perspectives to the table in matters of mindset, backgrounds, age, experiences. And then the most important part is inclusion. So both diversity and inclusion are both part together a modernization process we need in companies and societies, because only if we bring all perspectives at the table, we will be innovative in a learning society and a learning company. And this is what we need in this difficult times we have right now. So it's far more than just a gender topic. And it's not a charity program. It's a business imperative. Because if you don't have the right people and the right mix at the table, if you're making decisions and want to be future orientated as a company, you will just make decisions that don't suit the future of the market of tomorrow.
And what are the concrete advantages for companies? It seems like every company is speaking about diversity. Everybody wants diversity. But what are the concrete advantages when diversity is promoted? So when people from different genders, backgrounds, levels of education, and so on work together?
Oh, I think we have proved the business case several times. And for me, the most important thing is innovation. So if you're right in times right now and you have this fast changing environment and you have to keep on deciding on a daily business for new products, new ways of working, reorganize your processes, you have to be fast in the decision-making process and precise. So it's all about innovation and perspectives at the table. And I think it reduces, it sounds funny, but it reduces complexity. As we know right now, we have so many different challenges that are so much interconnected. If we look at climate change, if digitization, globalization, demographic change, and of course the pandemic crisis we're in right now. So there are so many problems we are facing and challenges we have to solve, that right now it is so important to have different mindsets at the table to make the right decision. So if I always use this very simple example. It's like if you have 10 like-minded people together at the table to solve a problem, you get pretty fast one solution. And if you have 10 people from different backgrounds, you might, argue for a while, but you come out of the room with probably 10 solutions at the best. And you need options in the decision-making process to be innovative, to be close to the market. So if you have one option, you could easily be wrong. If you have 10 as a decision-making process, you can decide in a portfolio way. And as a finance and risk manager, I would say if you have a portfolio, you have a diversified risk. So that what it comes down right now is like to have those options for decision-making processes. And that's why diversity is so important in your innovation process and optimization process for the future.
That sounds very reasonable to me, but can you give us some more evidence that supports the case for diversity? Are there any studies that have concrete figures, numbers telling that diverse businesses perform better than non-diverse businesses?
Oh, you can imagine me being a consultant for years. We have made so many studies about mixed leaderships and comparison of teams that are mixed teams, how successful they are, how they feel included in the being part of a winning team, and this engagement and empowerment leads to a lot more success. And you can just look it up, and there are tons of university professors. I would tend to say, just look at YouTube. There's Scott Page, a professor at Michigan, who made a very, very good speech at the European Central Bank about reducing complexity by using diversity. There you can just see that it's an economic benefit. So, and you name it, McKinsey, BCG, everyone has made a lot of studies showing that profit-wise and growth-wise in matters of employee growth as well, that's very important for the future, mixed teams outperform monocultural teams.
Anna, you are the chairwoman of an association called Charta der Vielfalt, Charter of Diversity. Can you very briefly explain what is the story behind it? What's the mission of this association?
Yeah, it's the Charter of Diversity. So we stand up for diversity being the beneficial factor for the economy. It was founded by DAX companies about 13 years ago, I think. I can't recall. I'm there from the first time when it was founded. And right now we are 3,800 companies. So we're representing 40% of all employees in Germany. And they sign the Charter of Diversity. They stand up for diversity and equality at the workplace. And we, learn from each other. We share best practices. We support each other in the journey, saying, even though you can't see it, especially in the boardroom, the gender diversity, yet we can see everything what we have been doing in the talent pipeline for the last years. And of course, what I'm saying is we are the spearhead of the flexibility agenda. So if you look at the pandemic situation right now, where everyone can go in a home office, we have been discussing and implementing flexibility agendas in home offices over the last 15 years for the benefit of, families working. And those companies have followed that track. I mean, they are used to virtual leadership. They're used to, not seeing each other and being able to work together, trust each other. And so it was a lot easier for those companies switching from one day to the other to the home office approach. And this is, such a proven point that different ways of working and different ways of, integrating work and lifestyle is very beneficial for the workplace of the future.
One part of creating a diverse environment is promoting gender balance. But why is it so incredibly difficult to establish gender equality?
Yeah, I think it's a society issue. I mean, we have seen all the perspectives on where the place of women in society is over years. And it has been very difficult and very slow to change the mindset that, everyone can do everything they want. And overcoming this, this unconscious bias that the way you were brought up, the way you have seen leaders, how they work, is the way that is the right way for the future. And to overcome that picture, because you have been successful in, copying, and this is you can go into brain physics here. It's like how you build up stereotypes and how your beliefs are so deeply embedded in your brain that you really have to rethink the moment you see something different. Is it my perception of the world, how it's supposed to be, or is it the perception it could be of the world? And to overcome that, it's like you have to change your own behavior and your own beliefs and see the world differently. And it is very complex process, of self-reflection. And this is what I ask for in leadership, because it's always very important to have this conversation top down. You need new role models on the level of leadership to, change pictures, change the way a role model has to look like. And this change process is very difficult for a lot of people. I mean, I've been working for 30 years now. I have 3 children. And I have, experienced so many conversations. What you think, what I should do, not the question what you want to do, why you do it, but you should be at home with your children and things like that. So you can see how deeply embedded it is in the society. What you have a picture of a woman should do and where they should be. Same is for everyone else. So for men as well, there is a pressure, and for religion, for background, for age, whatever. So we have so many prejudices in our head, and this is very important as well, because it's our survival scheme. But to overcome that, you have to be self-aware. And this training takes a long time.
So it's a lot about culture, it's about structure, it's about mindsets, stereotypes, and so on. What kind of structural problems do companies have to overcome if they want to be successful with diversity?
You want the easy answer or the fun? No, we wouldn't work so long on this topic and share so many best practices if it would be easy to change. So I said I'm a finance and risk manager from the beginning, from the profession, and so I like numbers and reports and transparencies in numbers. So I always start with you need a reporting. You need to have specific data about the status quo you are in, and then you have to set goals. And this is just the framework, but you need that framework because if you don't have the non-believers looking at numbers, you won't go very far with the change. So you have to have a status quo and a constantly reporting. This is the most important thing. And then, of course, you need goal setting. Yeah, you need to set, in everything we set ambitious goals. Why don't we do that in diversity as well? And I mean diversity again, not only gender diversity. And then the cultural change starts. As I just said, it's like you need leadership trainings, self-reflection trainings, saying, do I look at my team from my personal perspective? Do I say what's right or wrong? Or am I open for people being different? And if you embed this inclusive culture to embrace differences, and you really love these differences and you welcome them, then you start building an inclusive culture of being very, very open for learning new things and discussing things together and celebrate parties together if you have a success. And you go from being ego-minded to team-orientated. And therefore, you need this inclusive culture. And that's why it's so important and such a huge economic benefit for a company and society.
Jumping back to the topic we discussed before, Anna, you are in touch with a lot of women who made their way to the top management. And from your point of view, what's the key? Why have they been successful on their way to the top?
I always say women are, in leadership positions, they had to struggle with a lot of obstacles in their way. So they're strong and they understand the surrounding better than others because they were able to overcome those obstacles. Usually they tend to be more open from complexity because they have different life models to interlink with their work models. And so you learn from all different perspectives. You don't concentrate in one path of career usually. And therefore you're able to see a lot more things. If they're there, they have been pretty good in their struggle to get up there.
Anna, in this conversation, we are talking a lot about men and women. Isn't that an outdated approach as well? Shouldn't we be talking about gender neutrality, gender neutral environments?
Of course, it's totally outdated. And I mean, it's like diversity topic always starts with gender and if you discuss with me being in that discussion for years now, I talk about the human being. So I don't think that we know everything yet, but we should embrace everyone on the planet and whatever perspective, in what way of life they have, they're just part of our world and we are all together here, so we should support everyone approaching us. This is what I said earlier, embrace difference instead of, fearing difference.
and embracing difference. That's also what we try to do here at Greiner, and we know that we have a long way to go. Coming back to the topic of men and women, we have set ourselves the goals of having 35% of women in management positions by 2025. We are at around 27% today, and I'd like to ask you for some suggestions or advice from your experience that can accelerate that process.
I think I should have a conversation with your top management and get a feeling where they stand in their own beliefs, because it's all a matter of, how supportive the leadership is, and you really looking in succession and getting people from inside and outside to the places they can be. And it takes time, it takes commitment, and then you have to be very consequent. So you have to embed it the moment you can and don't discuss too long about it. Otherwise, time goes by and opportunities go by. You have to take a risk as time to time as well. So because in this gender discussion, a lot of people say, oh, I don't think she is there where they should be yet, and so on. This is always what people say. And in that moment, you just say, no, I support it. I take the risk and I take the responsibility, and I will be supportive. And then it work out, I'm pretty sure.
Speaking of top management here at Greiner, these positions are held almost exclusively by men. So I have two questions for you. What's your message to our male managers? And what's your message to women at Greiner who are ready to take their positions?
Go for it. I say stand up, go for it. Find someone who supports you. Build a network and show your competencies. And for the leadership team, it's like being open, look around, reach out, and support the woman to be, part of your team.
I believe there is not much I can add here, but there is only one thing that's left for me to do, and I'd like to invite you to do a short word rap, if that's fine for you.
I'm curious what you're coming up with.
So I would throw some terms, some words at you, and you can respond with whatever comes to your mind. That can be one word, a sentence, an anecdote, whatever it is.
Okay.
First term, diversity.
Diversity is success factor, not a charity program.
Equal opportunities.
We have to seek for equal opportunities for everyone, and be very, very supportive by bringing all to the decision-making process.
Something totally different. Your favorite musician?
Oh, no. I'm as diverse as everyone else. So it's always question of the timing of the day.
I'll not keep on asking here. One book everybody should read. The Female Brain. In this context, just take this book, The Female Brain. And last but not least, your message to the world.
Yeah, be open, embrace differences, and be curious what everyone has to say, and don't get stuck in your own mindset.
Thank you so much for this conversation, Ana-Cristina. It was a pleasure speaking to you.
It was a pleasure speaking to you, and I hope to be in Vienna soon.
We are very happy to welcome you here in Vienna. And to all our listeners, thank you very much for tuning in. Subscribe to our podcast, stay healthy, and have a great day.
Greiner Talks, a Greiner podcast. Subscribe now.